best one yet. It's the most stable yet. Hope we can pilot it. Have a great day. We didn't get our decent Memorial Day weekend that we had hoped for, but we're launched. We're out. We're breaking in the motor. Brand new. Towboat just went by us. There's the port. Port Rodman. Got a few boats out. People shaking down their boats. We went through some big wakes on the way out from other boats, and so far this is pretty rock solid. It's heavy for a small boat. Speaking of small boats, this is a small boat. Doesn't go fast enough to worry about him. Lobster pots. He can't get himself into too much trouble unless he runs over a lobster pot. Then we'll just pull the motor out and cut it off. At least you don't have to dive on it. This is the approach to New Bedford Harbor. Happy boating day, everyone. We're out at about probably 6 or 7 knots of wind. We have the head sail up only. Actually, I have the head sail up only for a change. Solo now. But we decided to stay home and go in the pool instead. So head sail only. I don't have a preventer or a pole on the main, so not set up for that yet. This is the first time we flew the head sail. It's warm. It's in the 80s. Beautiful day. Right now it's calm. Fairly calm. Pick up to supposedly 10 to 15 knots later on. I'm going to see how far I get. No set agenda. I was going to go across the bay on the motor, but it's not much fun. So put up the head sail. Probably Tasker. Pretty benign right now, but we'll see what happens later on. I'm ready to go. Just put it out. Trying the autopilot for the first time. 3 knots and maybe 5 or 6 knots of wind, so that's not too bad. Especially with the G. We're doing 2.73 knots, 2.8 knots. You can see the airplane right behind us. The spinner here would be tremendous right now, but in Buzzards Bay you almost never get to use your spinnaker. For now, take it slow. Nothing wrong with that for a change. Not too bad. So I think it's at this point where we're pretty much drifting that I take the sail down and put the motor back on, I guess. So there's a little breeze. Kind of waiting. Haven't got very far. Great day for a motorboat. We had a little bit of a breeze back there. I was going to get up to 3 knots for a little bit, but it didn't last. Just kind of waiting for the wind to do something. I kind of wanted to get across the bay. I'm not going to do it at 1.8 knots. Not and get back in the same day anyway. Give it a few more minutes, I guess. See what happens. It could be calm. It's not quite becalmed, but getting close. Flags over there are moving a little. I don't want to put up the mainsail because it'll take way more waves than wind. Kind of interesting. Boat's very sea kind. Doesn't seem to bother it. I've learned not to bother by it. Rolling all over the place. I'm like, I don't know, 8 knots of wind? Weird. I'm gonna go out and let the wind loose. I'm gonna take these on the beam for a little while and tack, head back in. Not very good sailing. Weird. Definitely weird. I'm gonna get it. Those boats over there are heeled over like crazy. And there's like, I don't know, 8 knots of wind here. It must be blowing out in the middle of the bay. Here comes a little bit. And then what's left over here is the waves. Back close to the lighthouse, so I'm watching all the power boaters get completely abused. And I don't know what the winds come up to now, maybe 12, 15 knots, but it's definitely 1-2 foot waves, maybe something like that. We got white caps. Power boaters are slamming against the water, and there's like not enough wind for Watcha. So I guess Watcha likes a lot of wind, waves. It doesn't seem to be enough. Pretty calm here, but it was white cappy a couple minutes ago. Good sail, good test. So it's Father's Day, Sunday, and I thought before we go any further and make any more videos for the summer, now that the sailing season has begun here in New England, I would take a little time to explain exactly the area that we're sailing in. So we sail out of New Bedford Harbor, which is a mostly industrial harbor. In fact, it's the, by dollar value, the most productive harbor or port in the country, and that's primarily due to scalloping. We actually outpace Alaska for dollar value because of those scallops. So the wind this weekend, once again, was very difficult to predict. You probably hear me complaining about that a lot here, and that's due to a few things. So before we go any further, I'm going to explain exactly what happens on a normal day in Buzzards Bay, and then I'll do a little explanation as to what happened this time we went out. So Buzzards Bay is like any other body of water adjacent to land. When you have a land-water boundary, you have dynamics that happen there. So in the spring and during the summer, the water is a cooler temperature than the land typically. So on a hot day like this, the land starts to radiate heat and it draws in cool ocean air. And you typically get an onshore breeze. This is what's called a sea breeze. I think everyone who goes to the beach is familiar with a sea breeze. The problem is, Buzzards Bay has 2 land masses. There's a land mass to the north, there's a land mass to the south, and there's a land mass to the northeast. So what happens is, on a typical day, when it starts out dead calm, and normally Buzzards Bay days start out dead calm, what happens is, there's a southeast breeze that starts to begin coming in. So the southeast breeze is drawn in, and it funnels the land to the south, and the land to the north funnels the air in. So there's always a southeast prevailing wind. However, yesterday we had winds in the morning coming from the northwest, which is due to a front coming through. When you have winds from the northwest, and then you have a warming day like we did yesterday, as it got pretty hot yesterday, it was in the mid-80s, we had the normal sea breezes out in the middle, and you can see those sailboats heeled over like crazy. And then, in between here, we had an area with a northwest wind,
was beginning to fight these sea breezes, which typically go toward the coast. So, this is our sail route. We sailed out of New Bedford, tried to get past Fort Rodman over here, and this is where I encountered no wind. So what happens was the wind coming from the southwest and the wind coming from the northwest were converging, so we were left with no wind. When I got over here and tried to anchor, what happened was the southwesterly breezes started to overcome the northwest breezes. So the northwest breezes started to subside, and we get a nice southwesterly breeze. The problem is, when I was out in the midday, it wasn't strong enough to start to override, so we still had a little bit of wind here, but we didn't have nearly the 15 knots of wind that was out in the middle of the bay. So it can be really confusing. You can predict you look at the NOAA charts and look at the NOAA websites, and they'll predict southwesterly breeze, 10 to 15 knots. And today they're predicting 5 to 10, so we didn't go out today. However, that's for the middle of the bay. So you get all of these little micro-climates in the middle, blowing like crazy. As you approach shore, it's confused, and when you get into harbor again, the wind's blowing back from the north, or from the northwest, or from any other direction. So what happens is, typically we'll go out, it'll be perfectly calm, then it'll be blowing 20 knots, and then later on in the evening, about 6 o'clock or so, it starts to calm down again. So, and then when you get out to Martha's Vineyard, which is out here, it's doing completely different things. It's coming from the south, it's coming from the east. So, as you can see, it can be pretty difficult to predict. So, anyway, hope that gives everyone a little education on what Buzzards Bay looks like. This is where we sail. It's shallow, it's 30 to 40 feet deep out in the middle. It can get to 100 feet, but there are shoals and areas and rocks, underwater rocks, that are only 4 to 6 feet under. So it can be really challenging from both a wind perspective and from a wave perspective, as the waves come from 30 feet to a 4-foot rock and then back into 30 to 40 feet again. So each area of the world has its own challenges, and this is just the area that we've become used to. So when we came back yesterday, I did look at the BUZM-3, which is the nearest NOAA weather station, and it is approximately out here. It was sustained 15, gusting to 17. So Watcha had her head sail up doing 3 knots. So obviously Watcha is a boat that wants more wind. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up. It helps us a lot. Like and subscribe. Until next time, this is the Blue-Eyed Sailor. Boy, is it hot. Wow, 90 degrees. Really? What's up with that? It goes from 50 to 90, and here we are. But I can't complain. After the snow and the weather and the winter, I'm not complaining. Nope, I'm just sweating instead. I'll sweat. Let my body complain. So long.